Hi everyone, it's Lisa Mears. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I'm going to be making two cards using the Spellbinders Small Die of the Month for June 2022. The die is called Stylized Border Trio. It actually looks like this. There are a set of dies that will make these beautiful borders for your cards. I'll show you some of the dies up close when I start using them on my cards. I did have a video showing an unboxing of those dies, but for some reason I cannot find that video, but you will see these dies up close momentarily. So I'm starting out with my first card using a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock that measures 4¼ by 5½. I am putting a little ink here on the card panel, and on the bottom of the card panel I started out with the cracked pistachio, and now I'm adding some of the tumbled glass ink. I'm using the Distress Oxide ink because I love how it blends so easy. So I'm going from green to blue, and then I'm going to add some of the Peacock Feathers ink. This is more of a turquoise or teal green ink. I'll add that one there, and then after I add the peacock feathers, I'm going to come back in with the tumbled glass ink and just blend those two colors together. Next, I'm going to take that cracked pistachio and blend that a little bit better with the tumbled glass, and now I'm going to come in with a darker blue. This is the Blueprint Sketch, and add that to the top of the card panel. I love this color combination together. I think it looks so pretty. So now I'm coming in again with the peacock feathers and blending that out a little more, and here is what my background looks like. So here I'm taking a piece of white cardstock and I'm putting some double-sided adhesive tape on the back of the cardstock, and I'm going to take one of the border dies and die cut it from this white cardstock. I want the borders to be a sticker because they're very intricate, and I want to make sure that I don't have any issues putting the adhesive on the borders once I attach it to my card. So here I'm just showing two pieces of white cardstock with 2-inch double-sided tape on the back, but I actually am going to need 4 of these because I'm going to die cut 4 borders. So here's one of the dies that's included in the small die of the month, and you can see how intricate this die is. I went ahead and ran that through the die cutting machine, and now this entire piece is a sticker. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this die to the bottom of my card panel, and I'm going to do this 4 times to create a beautiful background on this card panel. And I love the way that those blues and greens show through the openings on this die. Look how pretty that is. So once I attach the last one, I am going to trim down this panel so that it measures 4 inches by 5¼ inches. So I'm just trimming a little bit from each one of the 4 sides so that I can get the excess border that's hanging off the edge on all 4 sides. So the final measurement is going to be about 4 inches by 5¼ inches. Next, I'm going to take a sentiment. This sentiment is from the clear stamp of the month, and I'm going to stamp it out onto some white cardstock. This says, "Sending happy thoughts your way." And then I'm going to take one of the edge border dies, and I'm going to die cut this on the top and bottom. So it's going to have a little edge to this sentiment. So once I die cut the bottom, I'll add that border to the top, and then I'll run it through my die cut machine and then just snip the ends to detach it from the rest of the cardstock. And then I'm going to go ahead and add it to my card front. So I'm going to add some glue to the back, and I'm going to add it there towards the bottom of the card. And then I pulled out some ephemera from the June 2022 card kit. There's a flower and a couple of leaves, and I'm going to add that to the left side of the sentiment. I thought that peachy color in the flower looked really pretty with the blues in that background. Next, I'm just going to add a little piece of foam tape here on the back of the leaf, just so that it lays flat on that card front. And I'm going to do the same thing with this part of the flower, just making sure that it lays flat. And then I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to snip off the excess here on the cardstock that's from the sentiment. And then I'm going to add this to an A2 size card base. So my card base measures 4¼ by 5½ inches. And then last, I'm just going to add a few of the Spellbinders gold gems to this card. And I'm really loving the colors on this card. And I love how delicate and beautiful those borders are on that card front. For my next card, I'm using some of the Spellbinders Gold Mirror cardstock. I did put some double-sided adhesive tape on the back, and I'm going to use this second border that's included in the small die of the month. I believe there's a total of 3 borders that are included. And I go ahead and die cut that out of the gold mirror cardstock, and then I just peel back the adhesive. I'm going to stick this to a piece of white cardstock. And then I'm going to take the die that fits, it's an edge die that actually fits around this border die, and I'm going to add it to the top and bottom of the border. I'm going to just tape this down with some mint tape, and I'm going to die cut this, and what that will do is it will cut this border out of the cardstock. So here you can see what that border looks like when it's cut out. Next, I'm going to start putting my card together. So I have a piece of white cardstock that measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And I'm adding some pattern paper from the Spellbinders June card kit. This flower paper measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And I'm just adding it towards the top portion of that card panel. And I'm going to snip off the excess. So just use my scissors and snip it off there. And then I'm going to have this border so that it's over top of where the pattern paper and the white part of that cardstock intersect. I'm going to use a stamp from the card kit, so I was just kind of positioning the stamp over top of the white area just to make sure that I have that placed that border far enough up so that there's room for me to stamp out the sentiment. So after I figure out how much space I need, I go ahead and glue down that border. And I have just enough space I need for the sentiment, so I'm going to go ahead and take that card panel, pop that in my Misti, and I'll go ahead and stamp out the sentiment. I am using the same sentiment I used on the previous card, and again, this is from the clear stamp of the month for June. So sending happy thoughts your way. Now I'm going to take some ephemera from the June card kit, 3 of the flowers. I'm also going to bring in some of the leaves, and I'm going to arrange them off to the left-hand side of the sentiment. I am going to add just a piece of cardstock, scrap cardstock, here to the back of this flower, just because I want to make sure that it does lay flat. It currently has several layers of cardstock from the pattern paper to the border underneath, and part of that flower is not going to lay flat unless I add some scrap cardstock to the sides where it needs to be heightened. So I'm doing that on a couple of the flowers, and then I'll just adhere them to the card. I'm going to tuck some of the leaves behind the flowers. And next I cut a piece of gold mirror cardstock to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I did cut the center out just so that I could save that part of that cardstock for another project. And I'm going to add this cardstock to an A2 size card base that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then my card panel will go right on top of this. I chose to use the gold mirror cardstock because I thought it would pull out the gold in that border. Next, I'm just going to add some gold gems to the front of this card to bring out more of the gold. And then that is going to complete my card. So I will have more information about Spellbinders clubs down in the description box below. If you are interested in joining the club, you can take a look down at the description box and check out those links. As always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe for more card making inspiration. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.